I'm speaking as an officer of the United States Air Force.
Boom. You're dead. Boom. You're dead again. Boom, boom, boom. That's all it would take.
It's Captain Adam!
Welcome to the debut episode of the Power of Captain Adam podcast. I'm your host, Diablo Frank, and we're going to look at his first appearance in Space Adventures number 33, cover dated March 1960.
Meet Captain Adam, the Air Force career man who knew more about rocketry, missiles, and the universe than any man alive. A specialist of the missile age. A trained, dedicated soldier who is a physics prodigy at 8. A chemist. A ballistics genius. In short, Captain Adam was an invaluable space-age soldier even before that memorable day at Cape Canaveral, Florida, when an Atlas missile was being readied for blastoff, with an atomic warhead inside, and Captain Adam making the final last-second adjustments.
At the 3-minute warning, Adam dropped his screwdriver in the cramped space of the missile, and had yet to retrieve it at the 1-minute mark. As the seconds ticked and sweat dripped from his brow, Adam knew there was no time to exit.
Looks as though I'm going on a long, fast ride.
The missile launched as a horrified control center watched. Adam's pal Sergeant Gunner mourned, "The best officer in the Air Force is in there!" 3 panels showed Adam struggling to remain conscious from the tremendous heat in the nose cone. Adam slumped lifeless with a question mark hanging over his fate. A second silent panel followed the missile's flight. Gunner and General Eining considered Adam's fate. The sweat and other moisture drying out of his body. The explosion had come 300 miles above the Earth. The clock counting down the seconds to doom ticked incessantly until, precisely on schedule, Adam's end could only be verified by telescope.
At the instant of fusion, Captain Adam was not flesh, bone, and blood at all. The desiccated molecular skeleton was intact, but a change, never known to man, had taken place. Nothing, absolutely nothing, was left to mark the existence of what had once been a huge missile, nor was there any trace of the man inside.
General Eining's shoulders slumped at the loss of
A good man. A fine man.
leaving an inconsolable Sergeant Gunner leaning against a wall in silence. Suddenly, a disembodied voice commanded Gunner to come to the launching pad. General Eining was still in earshot and ordered the area evacuated. 3 minutes later, Captain Adam appeared, his clothes in tatters, energy emanating from his body.
Don't come too close. I'm as radioactive as pure U-235. Right now, you're getting a dose of radiation, so you can't stay near me long. Look, I disintegrated up there. I integrated here again. I can't explain, but it will be possible for me to do the same at any time from now on. There's a special lightweight metal, diulustal, developed to shield radiation. I'll need plenty of that. We've got to make a flexible shield I can wear to protect those near me from death by radiation. Will you get it for me, General?
Eining did his best, while unbeknownst to him, a newspaper reporter had learned of Captain Adam's death and filed the story. Once it hit the papers, Eining decided Adam's continued existence
would be the nation's most closely guarded secret.
Thanks to the diulustal shielding, the rads coming off Adam's body were converted to a light spectrum frequency, so the captain could fraternize without worry. Adam also began developing control of his energy powers, which he displayed for a tiny group of the president's most trusted advisors. Adam could burn off any normal clothes he wore with a thought, propel himself at speeds over 20,000 miles per hour, and decelerate instantly. Captain Adam used his ability to fly to the White House and meet with the unnamed President Dwight D. Eisenhower, who believed,
You, more than any other weapon, will serve as a deterrent of war. They must not learn about you.
Ike had a costume made up especially for Adam and assigned him the code name of
Captain Adam.
Adam saluted Eisenhower before the Stars and Stripes. Very well, Mr. President. Meanwhile, thinly veiled Soviet saboteurs programmed a missile launching from Cape Canaveral to
land on our own huge industrial complex,
providing an excuse to
begin a total war
with the United States. The no-goodniks were caught, and only Captain Adam could stop the Jupiter missile in flight. The captain flew out into space and detonated the warhead with one irradiated punch. Minutes later, he was back in the Oval Office, continuing to be liked by Ike. In a final panel soliciting comment on the new superhero from the publisher, Captain Adam appeared before Old Glory once more.
Introducing Captain Adam was by Joe Gill and Steve Ditko.
In his forward to the Action Heroes Archive, Volume 1, Blake Bell claimed
Captain Adam's stories were entirely redeemed their shoddy scripts by the magnificence of Steve Ditko's art.
It's true that Ditko's storytelling was amazing, and the use of 4 silent panels in a 9-page story, never mind the 10 with minimal dialogue or accompanied by detached text, were groundbreaking. Still, from their insane Fletcher Hanks-type illogical leaps to their red-baiting jingoism, Gill scripts were a delightfully gonzo time capsule from deep in the heart of the Cold War. It's also interesting to see how different this Captain Adam was from the better-remembered later versions. Garbed in a silvery blue metallic costume with gray-brown trim and yellow accents, Captain Adam vaguely recalls his 80s revival, aside from his strawberry blonde hair. The strip is extremely patriotic, with supporting cast made up almost entirely of sympathetic enlisted men, and the American flag appeared in 6 panels. The emphasis on scheming commies and the endorsement of a Republican president should clear up any question as to the strip's political leanings. Note too how similar Captain Adam's reconstitution and reappearance scenes, surrounded by a symbolic atomic icon, are to Gil Kane's Birth of the Atom art a year and a half later, coinciding with the Captain's final appearance for 4 years. We received retweets from Count Druncula, Keith G. Baker, Kyle Benning, Martin Gray, as well as favorites from Ange, Count Druncula, Kyle Benning, Professor Riptide, and Siskoid. Count Druncula wrote, "Great podcast recently from Bailey Podcasts, Professor Alan Middleton, The Flash Podcast, yours truly, and The Lantern Cast. He said he's really digging the Atom-sized episodes of DC Bloodlines podcast, listening to the Power of the Atom podcast. About time somebody used clips from Heather's in a podcast." Eternal Rage wrote, "Agreed. Really like the length of them. Short for both time and character. Fitting." Martin Gray wrote, "Could be the biggest thing in podcasting." And Siskoid commented, "Big fan of the Atom here, but the Silver Age stories I've read were so boring. I never really read The Sword of the Atom. I read Power of the Atom, but I'm not delusional about its quality. I think shrinking was just a power that activated my imagination, I guess. Truth be told, I like all the other Atoms more than I do Ray Palmer. Al Pratt, no shrinking, but awesome Justice Society member. Adam Cray, great idea for a Suicide Squad member. Ryan Choi, all new Atom is easily my favorite Atom series. Rhonda Pineda, don't read New 52 Justice League, but her costume looks good on her, and like the idea of a female Atom in principle. Sorry, Ray. So are all the Atom podcasts going to be super short? Is that a conceptual thing?" Ray Palmer is easily the best Atom. None of the other Atoms are close. I never particularly cared for Al Pratt. I do think Rhonda Pineda was underused, but I still think Ryan Choi is a boring Peter Parker wannabe. The podcast will be short. It's both practical and gives it an extra atomic punch. The preceding Atom-related program is a non-profit fan production. Any copyrighted materials contained therein are believed borrowed under fair use with no copyright infringement intended. Please feel free to leave comments either on the Power of the Atom blog or at Rolled Spines Productions WordPress blog. You can also send us Twitter comments through Commander Blanks, my personal account, or through the Rolled Spine Podcast Twitter. Thank you for listening.